Hello and welcome to the first in a series of What's in the Project Box. I'm dedicating this to new sewers for sure. Anybody can do this project. We just like to sew along together. I want to say hello to all my new friends who have gave me new restored confidence in, rebuilding the channel and doing new videos. So what's in the project box? This is episode 1. You are welcome to do this. This is one block wonder, I call it. The materials that I suggest you need would be, this is the extra, 2.5 yards of a dark fabric. This is going to include one border. That's all the borders I did, was one border. Take a medium dark, and that's going to be 1 yard. A medium fabric of 1 yard, 3 and 1/4 yards of a light fabric. Now I'm going to show a picture. It's a Jacob's Ladder quilt. This is what we'll be making. I want you to see it in black and white. I will also post up a picture when I edit of the block so you can get a better look. I think you can have a better understanding of your colors when you can see it in black and white in the tones. The block will make a secondary block. The other fabric requirements for an 80 by 80 is going to be, you're going to need 3/4 of a yard. 3/4 of a yard for binding. No, sorry, that's 3/8. I'll have to double check, and I'll post it up in the corner up there. Backing, it's 7 1/4 yards or 2.5 yards of a 108. For the beginners, I suggest starch. Because this is a bigger project, 80 by 80, I usually go through about a half a can of starch on this type of project, maybe even just only a quarter of a can. Some of the other projects with a lot of points, I go through a lot more. I would suggest, for basic tools, if you don't have any other basic tools, this is a Walmart buy. It's the Friskers 4.5 inch ruler. That's going to help you trim your 4.5 inch half square triangles. I'm using my big 12.5 inch ruler because we're cutting 10 inch squares, along with my 6.5 by 24 trusty. This is the other thing that will work for you well. You don't have to buy. I don't want anybody to buy anything if they can't. See how this ruler has a 45-degree angle on it? That's the most important. You can have something that has the 45-degree on it. That is fantastic. There are other tools such as the block lock. I like the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. This one is the smaller set. It comes in 2. There's an A and a B. I'm going to be using the A. I will also show how to cut with the other ones. This is what it looks like. It has these little great slots here to cut the dog ears off. The other thing you will need is a neutral fabric. Of course, a scissors, some marking pens. These are friction heat erase, just with your iron. We're going to be marking the back sides of 10 of our squares. And so you need something to do that with. Of course, your rotary cutter. I suggest with every big project, start with a new needle. As a long armor, I've learned that that's really important. Also, a thing that is helpful is remove the things out of the way. In you go. If you have a small mat, I think that's wonderful because I don't have the fancy rotating mat, but a smaller cutting mat is going to be perfect for trimming up our blocks so you don't have to pick up and move and fidget. Your ruler will stay right on the mat. You can twist and turn to get the proper cutting angles. so you're not hurting yourself. First, press your fabrics, add a little bit of starch. You want a little bit more starch in about the first 20 inches, 20 inches of your white fabric or your light fabric. Those are going to be our half square triangles. Those are the ones we're going to be marking. The other fabrics, just lightly starch or press to get out of the wrinkles out. And I'm going to readjust here and show some cutting tips. I will put cutting instructions in the description below. We're going to need 5 strips at 9 3/4. I know, crazy numbers. And for the white, we're going to need 24 strips at 2.5 inches. Some of you may have those Stripology, I think they're called, rulers where you can go every 2.5 inches. You can use those. Those who have short, small cutting boards, beware when you fold your fabric like so to get them onto your small cutting boards. If you don't have this quite straight, you're going to have, at this point, what is called elbows. It's a little crick when you open up your fabric. I would suggest cut one, open it up to see how well you did. It's about how you line this up, whether it's, you know, just a tish bit off can give you a good elbow there. Either way, I'll put this up on the table. I did iron this, but, you know, being in the box for 5 minutes made it wrinkly because it wasn't cool, because I'm trying to hurry to put this out, and we're going to iron this again, so it's no worries if you have a little bit of wrinkles. And we're going to iron to get that crease out. I don't like that crease. First thing to do, this is what I'm doing. You can do it your way, but this is my suggestion. Line up your folded end and your folded end. Make sure there's no wrinkles, okay? You will feel a big crinkle in the back. Then, take a nice long ruler. If you've got one, take a nice long ruler. I've had these ones for years and years. I love them. You want to line up the edge there, and we're going to trim this edge to clean up our edges. Hold your ruler down with your fingertips. I put my pinky on the outside. I don't know if you can see that. So it's like on the outside edge here as a guide. I give my rotary cutter a little vroom, vroom, vroom. Give it a start. Bring my ruler up. Go a little farther, or bring my hand up farther on the ruler. I didn't hear a cut there. I'm going to go back and do it again. I don't use the cutting lines on my mats because they will wear them out, but I walk it up. Now, for me, myself, and I, and you can do how you feel most comfortable. You could, this is one way you could do it. You could take and find your 9 3/4 inches. This ruler always messes me up. Yeah, 9 3/4 inches. Mark it there. Hold your ruler here. This is one way, and continue to cut. And so the story begins again. I forgot to turn the record button on. After you have some starch on your fabric, your light fabric, you're going to want to starch a little bit more. We have, I'm cutting 2 layers. You can cut one at a time. Well, technically it's 4 because it's folded. I have the fold towards me. And that's all good. Then, this is one way of cutting. I have several ways to cut, but I think for beginners this might be good. This is how I learned to cut. I don't use the directions on my map. I guess our cutting boards are a map. Oh, no wonder why that skipped earlier. I already squared up my edges. And I also wanted to point out, for those with smaller cutting mats, to when you fold your fabrics this way to make them shorter to cut, be sure it's good and square. Make one cut and test, because every little point at this right here could make an elbow if you have it just a tiny bit skewed. So even if you're even if you do this and then, you know, do your squaring up, it's still going to give you what we call elbows here. No elbows. No elbows allowed. If you have the ability, this is the way I like to do it. We can cut several at a time. So it's good and square. We need 5 strips. 5 strips. I believe it's 5 strips. At 9 3/4 inches. Backside. Yep, 5 strips at 9 3/4 inches. So I'm going to bring my 9 3/4. This is why I like the big square ruler. My 3/4 inch mark there, 3/4 inch mark. Butt this guy up and hold it. I'm going to slide my work down so you can see a little bit more. My tips for holding the ruler are as follows. Put your pinky on the edge, the outside edge of your ruler. Then it's just downward pressure. If you have downward pressure but you're still leaning forward and leaning into it, your ruler is going to slide. So if you could just try to use downward pressure, keep your pinky on the edge. You're going to do what you feel comfortable with. You'll learn your most comfortable style. And I get so nervous when I'm lining up and doing it on film. I don't know why, but it's alright. Alright, move that away. Give your rotary cutter a little vroom vroom, a little roll and start. Start with your hand closest. Keep your hand close to your rotary cutter, meaning don't go way up the board. Pick your hand up, set it back down, and go. Pick your hand up, set it back down, downward pressure, and go. I hit the edge of my table where the leaf goes in, and I'm pretty sure it didn't cut. Here's one of the reasons I like to cut this way, especially for a beginner. You can leave your hand on the ruler. See how I didn't get that? It's a really good example. That way, you haven't moved anything. You can go back and make that cut. Listen to your cutter as well. It'll let you know if it actually cut through the fabric or not. So that is technically 2 strips at 9 3/4. We'll do another set. Another set, another set. I'm going to move everything over so it stays within the camera. Excuse me, please. Over you go. So again, I'll show you that again. 9 3/4. I think Harry Potter was it 9 3/4? I think it was. Platform 9 3/4, please. 9 3/4 of an inch. Butt your ruler up. The other thing you can do is go up and down like this with your other measuring ruler. If you have a smaller one especially, just to check that your mark is on target. Again, keep your hand close to where your starting point is. Kind of use your thumb as a pressure point to push down. A little vroom vroom and away we go. Stop, pick your hand up, put it down. A little way, and repeat. Wash, rinse, and repeat. Right? There we go. There we go. Now, okay, so that's 2. We need 5. Don't make the mistake if you're cutting like this, with your edges lined up and cutting extra fabric. Make sure that you now open sesame, to just this, and we'll cut one more strip. One more strip. Chadboard 9 3/4. I love quilting, friends, and I love that so many people have come over here, and it was just breaking my heart to see so many of my friends struggling to learn how to quilt. And you know, we can quilt together and we can work through this. And it's difficult if you're only learning a block a month. That is at the half mark. No, it's not. I lied. Alright. This ruler is wearing out. All my rulers are, well, this one's not. This one's newer than that. It's still very old, just wearing out. Okay, again, same thing, a little vroom vroom, get her going. And I don't know if you could, same thing, a little vroom vroom, get her going. And I don't know if you could pick that up on the camera, but I didn't have my hand down here. I had a little, pick that up on the camera, but I didn't have my hand down here. I had a little bit of a slide. I'm okay with it. But that's exactly why you keep your hand near your cutter. Otherwise, your thing has a tendency to do that. Now, in a cutting directions, we're going to leave this here for a minute. We're going to go to these. You will see in instructions what is called subcut. So we just cut a strip that was 9 3/4. We need squares at 9 3/4, so we're going to subcut. That is a terminology in quilting, subcut. If I keep the ruler this way still. First, there's selvage edges. That's those icky edges that hold it on together when the fabric is made. We're going to line this up and get rid of them. You have a nice square line across because you just cut this. Line it up there. Give it a trim. I didn't trim it enough. I'm still stuck in selvage edges for whatever reason. I'm going to make sure I've got 20 inches here, which I do, so I can go back. I use this as kind of a guide, so I'm not shorting myself. So 20 inches is fine. We're going to trim a little bit more off of this corner. It's just little ways to give yourself some checks and balances so you don't make that horrible mistake when you're rushing through things. We need, oh geez, pardon me. Somebody get out a sip of juice or something. 9 3/4 again, we're going to do this at. 9 3/4. We need a total of 18. Total of 18 of these out of both your your dark fabric and your light background fabric. So that's 18 of each color. Let me be clear. 2, 4, is that right? Or was it 10? 2, 4, 6, 8. Oh, this is the single. 2, 4, 6, 8, and 8. Yeah. Is 16. And then the 2, I only needed 2. So from the single guide, cut the 2. Leave that other piece, this piece nice, big, and whole. So 1 cut there. All these double cut ones, we're going to cut all 4. 8 and 8 is 16 plus 2 more. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I do the math all the time over and over in my head, and sometimes it maths out and sometimes it doesn't math and I need to go back to school. Or it's, I do the math and it works out and I do the bad cuts and I still need to go back to school. We all make mistakes, no matter how advanced you are, how many years you've been quilting. We all make mistakes. Just learn and grow from them. Try to figure out what you did wrong. Use your mistakes as guidelines of things you could do better for the next time. Never, I've seen so many people, it just broke my heart. I feel like I'm stupid. You are not stupid. If instructions are bad, then you're going to quilt bad. You can't do anything about that. Kay and I have been talking, like literally talking on the telephone. about how sad this makes us, and Janet as well. I haven't had a chance to talk to Janet on the phone. I'd love to one day maybe, but it's killing us to see so many people struggling. Again, 9 3/4. Platform 9 3/4. So this is 4. We'll add it with our 2 for 6. And then, move this over. And again, 9 3/4. 9 3/4. Right, make sure we're still recording. My recorder has a habit of shutting off for whatever reason. Maybe one day I'll be rich enough to hire me a cameraman. Okay, we're going to add that to the pile. We have this. Some people might want to throw this out. It's on a fold. Kind of a good size. What do we got left? Darn near 3 inches. Keep your scraps in a little scrap box. We do have, I was suggested to do a video on how to use up your scraps. We are going to make a scrappy tote that you're going to want to use, complete with pockets and zippers. And oh my gosh, no pockets, no zippers, please, no. They're easy. Have confidence. You got this. We can do that. That's for another project, another day. Anyway, you understand how to cut those. The next thing, so you need a total of 10. Put this aside. You can use that in a good scrap piece. That's not a scrap. That's... So once again, my camera cut out, but I noticed it. As I was saying, this piece here, this is not scrap. This is a very good usable piece of fabric that is 9 3/4 by whatever the length it is. Totally usable. So put that to the side. Your other ones go in a scrap pile to save, to make our scrappy bag. You're going to subcut more off of your white, or light, I should say light, because I don't know what color you're choosing. 2.5 inch strips. From the light, subcut 24 2.5 inch strips. Pardon my reach. I had to grab my other ruler. 2.5 inch strips. I like this 12 inch ruler because the orange is actually a 1/2 inch. So I just have to line it up to the 2 inch mark. There. And make sure we're lined up on the bottom. Very good. Very good. Move that away. So 24 of these you need. I'm cutting the... I relined the edges after our last big cut so that I'm still cutting double. So you only have to make 12 cuts instead of 24. 2 inches. Keep your best practices. I looked at the video to see where it stopped, and it did show the ruler just sliding just a tishy bit on that one cut. And so, yeah. It's difficult when you're trying to describe and show people. So remember, give your rotary cutter a little broom broom. Oh, and the other thing I noticed, make it a habit, if you would, please. And I don't do as I do as I say. Close your rotary cutter. It's really important. Depending on who's around, it could get dropped. Look, we didn't cut very good. Maybe I need a new blade. And if you notice, I am not going by any lines on my mat. Not paying attention to those things. When you need to give this when you pull this, it's not really a pull. It's just a gentle to see if it's going to let loose. Just a gentle, gentle, gentle. And we'll continue on. Move this a little closer down. 2.5 inches. I do want to say thank you again to all the people who have given me the renewed spirit to do videos for beginners, or for anybody actually, because I like doing it and it's fun. But when life happens, that's more important than social media. Again, put your hand down here, thumb a little pressure, small bit, move the hand. You know, say it to yourself out loud. It'll get instilled in there somehow, shape, or form. And you will still make the occasional oops. Oh, look at that. I must have, yeah. I must need to change my needle. Or not needle, but my blade. I believe I did state. I believe I did state. Now I don't remember. The train fell off the track. Oh well. Oh well, it's no big deal. It's part of what happens with the icky disease I have. I have multiple sclerosis, and I don't care, and I don't want nobody to feel sorry for me because I don't feel sorry for me. I just do as I can, when I can, and how I can. There's a will, there is a way. So my cognitive thinking sometimes goes out the window. This way, and that way. So again, just to recap, 5 strips, cut at 9 3/4, subcut into 18 squares at 9 3/4 to make 18. Don't cut that extra bit, you don't need to. What else? Then subcut the rest of your light fabric into 24 strips at 2.5 inches. Your 2 medium fabrics or pretty fabrics or your middle fabrics, those are going to be cut at 12 strips at 2.5 inches for your other fabrics. And I think you have the idea of how to cut here, so I am going to finish this up and readjust, cook some supper, and come back to the video. Because, yeah, it's getting to be supper time. Until I return, happy sewing to you, and to you, and to you. Can't shut it off, though, while I'm cooking. You should, if you want to, give yourself a little bit extra if you're going to pre-wash because of shrinkage. It's all good. It's all good. Yep, so hang on. I will grab my other fabrics here. So our darks, you need 5 strips cut into, let's recap, 5 strips cut into 9 3/4, platform 9 3/4. 5 of those strips, then subcut into 18 9 3/4 inch squares. These 2 that I chose, my mediums, 12 strips each at 2.5 inches. Yeah, I think that's all. You can always just send me a message, either, you know, in the comments on YouTube or, you know, if you're in the Facebook group, if I mess something up. Because I know I mess something up, I always will. I'm not perfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. Until we come back.